Hi there, YouTube. So currently my girlfriend happens to be occupying the place where I blow dry my hair, and so I thought I'd pop on and film this video that I've been thinking about for a little bit. Basically just like my views on being vegetarian or vegan, pescatarian, you know, all of those animal food restricting diets, and kind of advice to other people. And also I kind of have like a question for all of you at the end of like what you think about a certain thing, but I will talk about that later. So the first time I became vegetarian, I did it for 2 days, and I was, I think, 10 years old, and it was just because I saw, it was like a show where a girl went vegetarian, and I thought it was the coolest thing ever, and my mom was like, you don't like vegetables, I'll see how long you last, and I lasted about 2 days, and then gave up. And then I became vegetarian for Realios when I was 15 for the first time, so that was about 5 years ago. And I'd done the classic. I was like, I've heard of this meat.org thing, and I've kind of been thinking about being vegetarian. Let me see it. And I was really disgusted about the way animals were being treated on factory farms. And I've since then have done a lot more, I guess, sort of research on factory farming. I read more books that address factory farming, and realized all in all, on lots of different levels, it was just something I'm not very okay with. And so that's when I went vegetarian. I kind of intended to eventually go vegan when I was ready for it, and I tried when I was 19? 18? I tried when I was 18, and I made it for a while, because I'd had a break in between being vegetarian and starting to go vegan. There was about 6 months, because the first time I went vegetarian, I was really bad about eating all of my nutrients that I needed. And don't let anyone tell you that it's easy. It is difficult. It can be. It's sort of one of those things that it's like everyone experiences going veggie differently. So in terms of the health things, like, it's something you really have to pay attention to and you really have to take seriously. Because I ended up really harming my immune system and really weakening it by not getting all of the nutrients that I needed. And after not having had strep throat for 2 years, I got it 8 times in 3 months and had to get my tonsils removed. And then like 3 months later, I got mono. I got mono, and then 6 months later, I had strep 8 times in 3 months and had to go, and then had to get my tonsils removed, which took about 3 months of recovery. So I feel like my immune system would have been people had mono all the time at my high school, and I never got it, and my immune system was way stronger before I went vegetarian the first time. So I did not make that same mistake twice. Surgery is expensive, and the aftermath was painful, and I had to deal with painkillers. And, yeah, so I didn't want to go through that again. So the second time I went vegetarian, I went very slow. I gave up one food group a month. So first I gave up pork, then I think I gave up chicken, beef, and then chicken, and then fish, and then dairy. And I think, yeah. So I just kind of, went down the line until I was vegan. And I did pretty good for a while. I decided to stop. I can't remember exactly when I decided to start eating cheese again and eggs. And I feel like it was just kind of a gradual decision, like something where I kept cheating. So I was like, clearly this isn't working. So I'm just going to take a break from this for now. And I decided to stop being, and I ended up deciding it wasn't practical for me to be completely vegetarian while I was living in Seattle, the seafood capital of the Northwest. Especially when I was living with a homestay that was making a lot of meals for me. And so that brings me to a few points. Like I said, take your health seriously. Take it slow. You don't have to give up everything in one go. And for me, I didn't feel very comfortable, like, inconveniencing other people when it came to being vegetarian and vegan. If you're someone who goes veggie and then and you're someone who doesn't tend on being really strict about it, then it is a good idea to, let people that, if you're going over to someone's house, let them know that eating meat will make you sick. That is usually a lot more effective in getting someone to help you out than just saying that, oh, I don't eat meat, because then they'll be like, why? And if you say, well, instead if you say, well, I'm vegetarian, I haven't eaten meat in a long time, and it'd make me really sick if I did. Because that does happen. If you don't eat meat for a really long time, and you do decide you don't want to be vegetarian anymore, reintroduce it very slowly, because you will find your body has lost those enzymes to digest it really quickly. So I personally, I didn't ever feel that comfortable about inconveniencing other people when I was going over, when they were inviting me into their home, specifically with being vegan. With vegetarian, people always make side dishes, so that wasn't a big deal. But yeah, and I felt like sometimes I would like miss out on certain social situations, just because, like, there a lot of social bonding happens around food, and if you're the person who's like, I can't eat that, you're just, you kind of end up distancing yourself from people. So these are just some, like, it's not necessarily like good or bad, it's just some things to keep in mind that you may or may not experience. So currently, right now, I'm still basically in the state that I was when I was living in Seattle, which was pescatarian. And that was because I moved out of my parents' house, and it just, again, I'm a college student, and I mean, food obviously came first, but when you find that you have like a really specific budget for food every month, and you don't have time to cook, like, the thought of trying to be vegan strictly was really daunting. And something I just decided I wasn't able to do. I know my screen name says Vegan Emerald, and I've talked about this in previous videos, that I haven't really gotten around to changing it, and I didn't really know if I wanted to, because I feel like in a lot of ways, like, my channel still represents a lot of vegan stuff, and that's kind of the point. Yeah. So with that, I want to say, like, I feel like if you're going to be vegetarian or vegan, don't torture yourself. I think it's good to, like, before you decide to do it, to look at what your goals are, and to then think about if being vegetarian or vegan actually helps you make those goals, and to think about all the things that you want, that you're willing to sacrifice. So, and I've had some talks with friends that if your goal is to end all animal suffering forever, just being vegan isn't going to do it. And it's probably the least helpful thing. That sounds really bad and really negative, but it's tricky. Factory farming is really, really bad, and everyone agrees. I think, everyone who's vegetarian and vegan agrees factory farming is really bad. But it's not an isolated problem. It is a problem that is enveloped by this larger system of capitalist venture. So it's sort of like a symptom of kind of a sick economic way of doing things. So it's sort of like, let's say capitalism in this case is brain cancer. Factory farming would be like a headache. It's like a symptom. So and then some people who are really all or nothing about being vegetarian or about being vegan or not may feel like, well, there's no point in just treating the headache, and I can't treat the brain cancer, so I'm just not going to do anything. I feel that treating the headache is still something you need to do. And so for me, my goal was, and I recommend adopting this goal for yourself, just because it'll give you, it's more flexible, and I think it's good, it's okay to give yourself a break, in that my goal wasn't to eliminate all animal suffering by becoming vegetarian, vegan, pescatarian, whatever. My goal was to lessen the amount of animal suffering I was participating in, and to lessen my carbon footprint. I currently don't have a car, and I haven't even ever gotten my license, and so far I haven't even tried very hard to pursue that because of the carbon footprint thing. I'm kind of like, I do really well walking and busing in an urban area, so that's beside the point though. So for me, it was about lessening the negative impact I was having on animals. If your goal is like animal rights and liberation, there's a whole lot of other stuff besides just factory farming that's going on that you might want to consider. For instance, having pets at all. There are definitely some pretty hardcore environmentalists that would say that the fact that we live in a society where we breed pets for our own enjoyment, that's not what animals exist for. Animals exist for themselves. So you see where it's like, when you have an all or nothing approach, it's either you're one extreme or the other, and it's sort of like, well, because I can't do all, I might as well do nothing. And I don't think that's very helpful. So I rather would do what I can, what makes sense for my life, my desires, my wants, my needs. And it's okay to take your desires into account. It's okay to think about, well, fuck, I really, really like cheeseburgers. It's okay to think about that, because the fact is, if you're not motivated and you don't desire to do it, you're probably not going to do very well being vegan or vegetarian. And that's sort of the same thing like with animal testing. I think what's really, really awesome about the makeup world is that we have this thriving indie community that totally embraces animal rights and totally embraces the idea that we don't need to test on animals. And the fact is, those businesses are small and there's lots of them, and that's what makes that indie beauty that indie beauty industry work, because they don't need to sell in China. Their goal isn't to be multi-billionaire makeup companies. If you are Estee Lauder or MAC and you know that you can get away with being able to test on animals in a place like China and not lose any money, like, why wouldn't you? With that kind of mentality. And that's sort of the mentality that our brand of capitalism gives us. And it's a really, really big institutional thing that I don't think any one person can change. But that doesn't mean that we should do nothing and that we shouldn't have those conversations. And so that's kind of a lot, and I hope this didn't come off too negative. If you want to be vegan or vegetarian, you should fucking go for it. Like, it's been really rewarding for me in a lot of ways, and it's taught me a lot about myself and what kind of food I do good with and what kind of food I don't, because when you become vegan especially, you need to explore very fast other kinds of foods. And I find that usually the meals that I make that are vegan, I make with pretty much just vegetables and brown rice. And I've learned so many different veggie recipes now, and I just know how to cook veggies and what tastes good together. And then my body feels so much better. And so for me, I mean, really, that's like the biggest problem with me being like vegan or being pescatarian is like, how often do I get to cook and how often do I have to eat out? Because when I have to eat out, I'm like, I don't want to eat veggie burgers for the rest of my life. I'm probably going to just have to eat the salmon so I can actually get a complete protein, etc. Like, you have to consider these things. So, long and rambly, I know. And again, if you have any questions for me, like I said, I've been on and off at this for 5 years now, which I think is pretty fucking awesome. Actually, I think more than 5 years, like 5.5. So, like, I can answer a lot of questions. I can answer some questions about health, some questions about environmental impacts and stuff like that. And speaking of which, there is one thing I would like to mention, that with the environmental stuff, again, about not eliminating your impact on the environment, because that's really hard, but lessening your carbon footprint, that's kind of what eating lower on the food chain does, because cows in farms eat a hell of a lot more plant life than humans do. So if instead you just feed yourself plant life, you can get all of the nutrients you need if you do it right. And then you're eating way, way less than that cow is. And so you're using up a whole lot less resources than when you eat meat. Because when you eat meat, that cow had to eat all of that grain. So it's like you're eating up all of those resources. And to be honest, I think that's sort of that's sort of kind of one of the things about like world hunger too, is we have plenty of food, but we're distributing it in entirely the wrong way. Which again is a big problem with capitalism. The brand that we have, at least. Okay, So I think that's all I wanted to say about that. One thing that I wanted to ask all of you about, because this is, some of you may be like, what? This is a gray issue for you? But so there's this actually kind of gray issue for me that I was just wondering what all of you thought about, and if you could talk to me about what you think about it in the comments below. I'm just starting to get involved in beading and jewelry making, and I'm really excited about it. So I was wondering what all of you think about bone beads. So beads made out of bone. Not beads made out of ivory. That's bad. I understand that ivory is bad for a lot of reasons. But I was thinking about bone because it looks really cool. And so I'm thinking, is there any way that this could be like not awful? And I thought of a couple of things. And so I'm wondering what all of you think out there who are vegetarian or vegan or who just watch my videos and care about my ethical well-being or whatever. Because so like the local bead store that I go to, they get their bone beads from Africa, and they're sold by usually really, really poor people trying to make any money they can. I don't know if the beads that she sells are fair trade or not, but I know that that's kind of where they come from. So they're not really coming from a system of factory farming, but even if they were, the animals are not killed for their beads by any means. The bones are used in various ways as a way to eliminate waste from factory farming, which I almost think is kind of like more environmentally friendly, but on the other hand, does it like promote more factory farming? So currently I'm kind of leaning towards it's gray, but if I'm buying the beads to make my own stuff and I'm not making money off of them, and I'm not buying a necklace with bone beads from a big corporation that maybe didn't source their beads ethically, then maybe it's not so bad. Like, maybe I could do that. I'm kind of thinking about it. Again, this is about, like, honestly weighing your desires and your goals and what you want to do. So feel free to talk to me in the comments below. I would ask, and I'd ask anyone, this is the big thing, I'd ask anyone who's vegetarian or vegan, and especially with my videos, because this is really scary to put this stuff out in public, don't be the vegan police. This sounds kind of negative. Again, I'm sorry, but the vegan police is someone who, they see a regular carnivore person who like doesn't even know that they're doing anything wrong. They see them eating meat and they look at them and they judge them and they go, you know, meat is murder, right? That doesn't win anyone over, and I don't think it's our place to tell anyone what is okay for them and not okay for them to do with their own lives and their own bodies to a certain extent. I think if someone asks you, like, hey, why are you vegetarian? Why are you vegan? What do you think about this? What do you think about that? Like, totally bring them and be like, well, I really hate factory farming, or I just care about the environment, or I could never kill a cow, so I don't think, that's the thing for me, is like, I feel like right now, like, I could never kill a cow or a pig, and it's really unfair for me to ask another human to do it for me. That really is an issue with me. So I'd encourage you to not be the vegan police, to don't police yourself too much, and definitely don't police others. That just contributes to a wider cultural problem that we don't want to contribute to. Anyway, I love all of you, and I've been so happy that more of you are commenting and watching my videos. And I hope that I hope you all know that I made this so I could be as honest with all of you as humanly possible, because I would never ever want someone to feel like I wasn't being honest, or that I was being a hypocrite for you know, eating fish, or occasionally cheating, or whatever, buying bone beads, whatever I end up doing or not doing that, and then telling you that I don't do that. I would never want you to feel like that's what's going on. So this is kind of just laying it all out there for all of you. And feel free to, you know, disagreeing is fine, like, we can chat. But yeah, I really hope you all are having a really great night, and I think everyone should try going veggie, because it's still pretty awesome. Alright, and I will talk to you all soon. Bye!